First story. Am I that bad for leaving my fiancée at the altar after discovering her affair with my brother and her best friend? I, 29M, have been with my fiancée, Emily, 28F, for 5 years. We got engaged a year ago, and our wedding was supposed to be a fairy tale. Everything seemed perfect until last week. I was preparing for the wedding when I noticed Emily acting strangely. She was secretive with her phone and had sudden, unexplained disappearances. I chalked it up to wedding stress until I received an anonymous message with photos and screenshots revealing that Emily was having an affair with not just one person, but two: my brother, Mark, 31M, and her best friend, Sarah, 28F. I was devastated. I confronted Mark, who admitted everything and said it started as a mistake but evolved into something more. Sarah, on the other hand, denied it at first but then broke down and confessed, saying she and Emily had always been closer than I realized. I didn't know what to do. Calling off the wedding seemed drastic, but marrying someone who betrayed me with two of the people I trusted most felt impossible. I decided to go through with the wedding to gather my thoughts, but as I stood at the altar, watching Emily walk down the aisle, all I could think about was the betrayal. When she reached me, I couldn't go through with it. I took a deep breath and told everyone what I had discovered. Emily burst into tears, Mark looked horrified, and Sarah ran out. My parents were furious, and the guests were in shock. Now, both families are divided. My parents are supporting me, but Emily's parents are calling me cruel for humiliating her publicly. Friends are split, with some saying I did the right thing and others saying I should have handled it privately. Emily has been texting and calling nonstop, begging for forgiveness, saying she made a mistake and wants to fix things. Mark has disappeared, and Sarah is posting cryptic messages on social media about betrayal and forgiveness. I'm heartbroken and confused. Am I that bad for exposing Emily and leaving her at the altar, or should I have handled it differently? Second story. Relationship help. So I've been talking to this girl online for a little while now. We are not technically dating yet because I don't want to rush things, but we tell each other that we love each other and basically do the same things as every other couple. We are basically together. Well, there was an incident where she was messaging a different guy on Snapchat without even making me aware. Apparently it's a friend she has that she never told me about. When I asked her what she talks about with him, she said, I tell him about you and how much you help me, and she also said he says you seem like a good guy. Well, I was pretty upset by this and she ended up saying that she blocked him. But she told me she blocked all of the guys she had on Snapchat, and when I asked her how she had his snap then, she said he was mad at me and that I don't like talking to people when they are mad at me. For some reason I have a feeling that she unblocked him. Well, that happened yesterday, and I had a talk with her, and she promised she would be 100% open and honest with me from now on. Well, I just looked at one of her TikTok videos she made, and last night this guy that she follows and he follows her, said that she was a cutie and she liked his comment and responded with "oh wow." Not only that, but there was another guy that commented basically saying she was pretty and he apologized for being insensitive, and she responded to that comment by saying, "No, it's okay, text me RQ. This is hurting me so bad. I don't want to lose her, but she is not being honest with me, and she still messages other guys without telling me. Not only that, but she likes other guys' comments that compliment her as well instead of telling them that she's talking to someone. I don't know what to do. I feel like if I lose her, my life won't have meaning, and I will be very depressed." I told her that I would always be there for her and never leave her. I've always been honest with her and loyal, and it sucks so bad because I love her and I get her so much, but when she does things like this it hurts me so bad. What do I do? Third story. Cheated on and lost, M29. Please bear with this question story. It is very long-winded but feel I need some sort of anonymous advice. I found out in June 2021 that my partner, who I had been with at that time for 9 years, had kissed a coworker. She had changed jobs in November 2019 and began working early morning shifts. I caught her out because she was on the phone at 1 a.m. talking to him about sitting in her car while they waited to start work. I was shocked and beyond heartbroken. As I was going through a mental health issue at the time, I chose to accept her apology. Fast forward to September 2022, when we were traveling away to NYC on what was meant to be our honeymoon. Unfortunately, we lost our wedding venue due to them running into financial issue during the COVID pandemic. We still wished to go and agreed to have as much fun as possible. But for the whole trip, I felt she was being short with me, and her mind was elsewhere. I put it down that she was upset that it wasn't the holiday it was meant to be, but I reassured her that we would get our honeymoon. Fast forward further to March 2023. Due to my mental health issues, I had unfortunately put on 5.5 stone in 2 years. Being 5'4" and weighing nearly 20 stone, 280 lbs/127 kg. I certainly was not looking my best, even though I've always been chubbier due to recreational weightlifting, and was very self-conscious of my looks, not helped by the fact that I had not been intimate with my partner for around a year. Even on what was supposed to be our honeymoon, we weren't physical, so blamed myself for letting my weight get out of control. The only good thing was that my mental health problems had subsided, and I was finally being allowed off my medication. The evening after I had visited the doctor to receive this news, my partner was in the shower, but had left her phone on the coffee table. It was around 10 p.m. and her phone lit up with the name Kate. I knew she had a co-worker friend named Katie and thought it was rather weird she was named in her phone book as Kate. As I believed this was her friend Katie calling, I shouted through the bathroom door to see what she wanted me to do. Now I know this is something that some couples may disagree with, but we've always been open to the other one opening the phone if we're busy doing something. Her response to me was for me to text saying she'd call back when she's finished showering. As I went to unlock her phone, a text message came from Kate: "I need to talk to me, sexy bitch." I went completely numb, my ears were ringing and my heart was pounding. I opened the messages to see what was being said. I scrolled through as quickly as I could and saw there were 6 months worth of messages. Some were flirty texts which some people may suggest could be deemed as innocent. There were exchanges from when we were in NYC and how she was missing him. Others were their fantasies with each other and where and how they'd have sex. Then there were texts about me and about how I can't satisfy her. I then heard the shower turn off and just wanted the ground to pull me in. When she finally went on her phone, the color had drained from her face and she was white as a piece of paper. I decided to not say anything. This was due to a mix of my anxiety and depression, and I didn't want to upset her. But she didn't say anything either. I decided I needed to get healthy and look fit again. Not just for my organs but for my mental health. Again, fast forward to March this year. I've lost 3 stone, 42 lbs, 19.05 kg in weight, and my mental health issues are mostly behind me. I feel confident talking to groups of people and trying to focus on what makes me happy. My sex drive is now through the roof like it was before my mental health issues, and I was treating my partner like the queen I've believed she is. But I had this niggling feeling something wasn't right. So I done the unthinkable and looked through her phone one night when she was sleeping. I know this isn't the right thing to do, but I had to prove my gut feeling. Once again, to my shock, even though I shouldn't have been, I had found messages on Instagram and through text messages. There were images being shared that I never thought she'd do. The conversations that were being had were making me feel physically sick. For the next few days I'd done something which I shouldn't have done, but at the time felt it was right for me to do it. I took her out on a spontaneous date. I'm not the overly romantic guy, as I come from an old-school working-class Irish Catholic family, where feelings and emotions aren't always openly shared, and tried some physical touching to try get her in the mood. It had worked and she had initiated sexual contact with me. For the 20 minutes or so of this sexual interaction, I felt top of the world. I felt I had my partner back. My partner who used to have the same level sex drive as me. But, an hour after this encounter, I could see she was offish with me. Her words were that she wanted to be touched by me, but not have me actually penetrate her. I asked her if she was accusing me of something I would never do. She said no, but didn't feel she wanted to have full-on sex with me, just oral touching. I reminded her that for the whole interaction she never said to me no. We've been together since we were 17 and I always know no is no. Even though my soul felt like it was being crushed, I respected what she was saying and apologized. I spent the next few days blaming myself for making her feel like that. Just last month we went on our summer holiday for a week. We were having general chat at dinner one night when we somehow got onto the topic of cheating. Now this may surprise some people, but she believes there are two types of cheating. The first of the two types only seem to fit males. The first is that you have such an arrogance and persona about you that you just think you can sleep with whoever you wish no matter the consequences or people you may hurt. The second type is the type she believes she falls into. The I didn't feel love from you so I went elsewhere. She then proceeded to tell me that she wasn't feeling love for or from me during COVID, the height of my mental health issues, and because the only attention she was getting from a man was the male coworker in question. She thought she'd see where it went, but when I mentioned if those rules would apply to me if it was the other way around, funnily enough I wouldn't fit into that type of cheating. As I didn't want our holiday to be ruined, I left it at that. Since being back from holiday, I've tried to initiate physical touching on a few occasions. Even though I got rejected, I still respected what she was saying. But last week she said words to me that hurt. My partner of 12 years told me we are in the flatmate stage and that my genitalia doesn't serve her any purpose anymore. The term flatmate stage is something that I had never heard of before, and as she sat on the sofa giggling, she explained what it means. We live together and have love for each other, but that's it. Now out of everything, this has probably hurt the most. Firstly, because I work my arse off every week at work to make sure she gets nearly everything she needs and wants, and I treat her like a queen. Secondly, as someone who put weight on due to an illness which has led to a change in body shape appearance, to be told you're not good enough and feel like she's saying she's getting it better elsewhere kills. This has led me to have feelings and emotions and make decisions this week, of which some I'm regretting. I decided on Monday that I wish to have my fun behind her back. Even then I had feelings of being a scumbag and thinking about if she finds out she'll be hurt. This is something I never had interest in before, because as the saying goes, why have burgers when there's steak at home? And I've never had the confidence to talk to another woman, even in a non-sexual way. Now the thing is that I'm finding thicker women and BBW women on the internet, which I'm looking at and thinking of hitting on. As someone who is still chubbier and been heavy, I have mixed feelings. Mainly, I don't want to have to hear the words that I'm not good enough for a woman, but also I know what I'm trying to do is wrong. Then I think of my partner that I've been loyal to. I think to myself, if anything ever happened to her, I'd be destroyed. If she ever left, I'd be destroyed. When I remove the hurt and her actions over the last few years and just think of the stuff she does for me, it gives me butterflies. But then I think of the hurt and I think to myself, if I just done it once, will it make all the pain go away? I just want someone who's anonymous to give some advice if they can. Even people who have been cheated on and then cheated themselves, how did that make you feel? Thanks for any advice you can give. Fourth story. Wife of 12 years cheating, behaving like a drug addict, please help. I am 34, and my wife, F30, have been together for 12 years, almost 4 years married. We were each other's first and only. We always thought we had something special and unique. We rarely argued, and did most things together. Last few years sex was regular but not particularly frequent. Usually 1-2 times a week, up to 3 times a week. Although we do not have children yet, we do have a busy life. both working full-time and doing our degrees, gym etc. My wife always claimed we had good sex and I agreed. Additionally, we share interests and have the same plans for the future. This year, we plan to finally try for a baby and buy our dream house. Everything started around the end of January this year when I'm 38, wrote to my wife for the first time. They've been working in the same company for about 3 years but in different departments, although it's an open space office, so they saw each other but never talked before. He was in a relationship that ended around February or March this year. Yes, AP started writing to my wife while still in a previous relationship, which she was aware of, and he also knew she is married. I started connecting the dots around the end of February, when my wife became overprotective and secretive about her phone. She was practically glued to it. Additionally, I noticed other signs such as sitting next to me on the phone, but always in a way that I couldn't see the screen. And if I did, the display was so dimmed that I couldn't see anything from the side. Besides that, she started spending more time in the bathroom. When I pointed out that she was spending a lot of time on her phone, she often responded irritably. My wife has a female friend with whom she texts daily from morning to evening. Initially, I explained it to myself that this friend was having a hard time and needed a lot of support. But searching the internet for the symptoms, I noticed people wrote that she must be doing something wrong if I suddenly see such change. She must be texting someone. I got very scared, but absolutely didn't believe that my loving wife and best friend could be doing something like that. Anyone but her. Impossible. But I had no way to find out or get proof because she was so protective of her phone. Because of this, I became irritated and jealous, and we had one argument about another topic. Also, at that time, I was so irritated by her phone addiction as she spent almost all her time on the phone that I refused to have sex with her one night, saying I just wasn't in the mood. She responded with something like, "Other guys would love to have sex with me, but you don't want it." Back then, I didn't realize she was referring to a specific guy. I just assumed she said this because she knows she is very pretty, and it seemed like a normal thing to say. Finally, I gathered myself and asked her directly. Twice. Each time she denied it. She had never lied to me before, so I believed her, but her behavior didn't change and that kept bothering me. Finally, one day I pressed her and she admitted that yes, someone wrote to her in January, but it only lasted a few weeks, because she absolutely did not engage in the conversation even though she liked the attention. She deleted the conversation out of guilt. This information broke me. I don't know why. Supposedly nothing, but suddenly the perfect image of my beautiful, loving wife shattered. I was devastated, practically didn't sleep all night. I cried and she comforted me that she did nothing wrong and that I shouldn't worry. 2 days later, after work, I wanted her to tell me everything in detail. Who he is, how does he look like, what he does, what he wrote. When exactly it ended, she answered everything. Later it turned out that these were all lies. After the conversation, she confessed that she didn't know what to do with us. She didn't know if she loved me. I was completely WTF. How just at the end of January, we made an offer on a house for almost £300,000. Huge commitment for another 30 years. How could she be okay with that if she did not love me? What's more, she always said how much she loved me, like a couple of times every day. She quite often said the phrase that I am a perfect hubby. What happened in those 2 months that she suddenly fell out of love? Unaware that there was someone else, I started the pick-me dance which only irritated her and pushed her away. My wife said she needed space. I was not in favor of it because I believed that if there is a problem in the marriage, we won't solve it if one of us moves out. I believed we could get through everything if we acted as a team. But eventually, after a week, I agreed to go to a hotel for the weekend. Upon my return, she said she had sorted things out in her head and that everything would be fine. A week later, we flew on a short 4-day trip to Barcelona. We had a great time, sex every night, morning showers together and cuddling, lots of laughter and jokes and sightseeing. But something still bothered me. After returning, when she fell asleep for the first time in about 2 months since I started having my first suspicions, I took her phone. And to my dismay, I found a conversation on Snapchat that was very flirtatious. She wrote to him that she missed him while being in Barcelona with me, that she couldn't wait to see him, etc. He replied that he couldn't wait to finally have sex with her, etc. These kinds of messages. She woke up and begged me not to move out. I was shattered and didn't know what to do. Clearly from the messages, nothing had happened yet, but for me, it was still a total nightmare. I stayed home and for a week it was just madness. Crying and sex and everything else. A few days later, we watched our wedding film and cried together. The next day I made coffee in bed and we had sex. Then she cried. I thought it was from guilt. We hugged and laughed until around 11 a.m., when she finally had to get ready to go out for a work party to celebrate her promotion and finally passing those 2-year accounting qualifications. So I drove her to that meeting at 1 p.m. She was supposed to come back around 8 p.m. but returned the next day. I found an Uber confirmation on her email going to the city where AP lives. Then I knew she cheated on me that night. I was already packing in the middle of the night, but decided to stay as she did not reply to my messages, and despite everything, I was getting worried. Upon returning, she denied everything. 2 days later I saw she was still texting him and kicked her out of the house to him. She came back after 3 hours begging and saying she loves me, that she doesn't know what's going on with her, and stayed. A few days later was our 12th anniversary. We went for a long walk, hugging and kissing, etc. After returning, ice cream, wine, and sex. In the evening I had to go take friends to the airport and I told her, listen, if you want, move to him. I won't be home for 3 hours, you have time to decide whether we are fixing the marriage or not. So she moved out. Driving to him, she called me as if nothing had happened. Then I knew something was wrong with her head. How knowing a guy for barely 3 months and spending maybe 24 hours together, she just leaves a 12-year good relationship as if nothing. The next day she came back and we decided to save the marriage. But really, she was getting crazier each day and secretly going to him, and I started the pick me dance again. Fast forward 2 months later. She moved out to an Airbnb for about 2 weeks. It's been a week now. And she writes to me every day that she loves me and doesn't know what's going on with her, that I'm the ideal partner, etc., etc. I think she's still seeing him all the time. I don't recognize her. She behaves like a drug addict. Sometimes she's cold as ice and other times I can't tear her away from me. She cries and sobs. I know this guy is a red flag, a typical player. What should I do to shake her out of this? She started going to therapy and says it helps her. Never in 12 years was there even a fraction of such behavior. I don't know what to do. So much has happened already. I feel like I've lost the last remnants of dignity as a man. But on the other hand, the more I read about limerence and affair fog, and that such an affair can be like a painkiller for some deep emotional pain or depression, I want to help us. And I know she had something like a smiling depression for about 2 years, because she has shown me her diary once recently. Her parents also divorced when she was around 10 years old, so she was growing up without a father. And despite how smart and beautiful she is, she always had a low self-esteem. I absolutely didn't suspect anything. But is there any chance now after all of this? Please, what should I do? Is there a way to snap her out of it, or is this a lost cause? My wife and I have been together for 12 years, married for almost 4, and have always been each other's first and only. We have had a strong relationship, but everything changed when she started talking to a colleague AP in January. She became secretive and protective of her phone, and eventually admitted to having an emotional affair. After confronting her, she confessed to cheating. Left me for him. but kept coming back saying she loves me and doesn't know what's going on. She's started therapy, but her behavior is erratic. She moved out and it's been a week now. I'm at a loss and don't know how to handle this situation or help her. Is this limerence? An affair fog? She behaves like an addict and despite everything I still love her. Please advise.